2018 was a heck of a year for progressive metal, with Orphan Bland and Astra taking home the first and second spots on the top 50 list of that year. So in 2019, the progressive calendar opens up with The Atlantic by Evergrey, a band whose last couple of albums have had good representation. However, the commitment to memory is perhaps a little bit lacking, especially whenever it comes to some of their older epics. The band is also very close to celebrating an anniversary, considering they were founded in 1995. 2020 would mark 25 years as a band, which is amazing to consider, especially whenever I think about the fact that I got into this band back whenever the Discovery came out in the first part of the 2000s. Yeah, we're all getting old. So, with The Atlantic, one of the things that is very dialed up on this disc, or at least was sort of promoted as being dialed up, is the emotional factor. Emotion has always played a very critical role in Evergrey's music, and the past couple of albums have not been excluded of that, but perhaps have not had quite as much of the resonance or the impact of emotion as some of their older albums had. It just simply has become something that is the norm, so whenever it is an established tradition, it may not hit nearly as hard, not unless it has a sort of instant impact. So the band certainly was looking at 2019 and The Atlantic to perhaps rectify that situation, and does so really right away with a Silent Arc. While this one is really setting the tone for what this album is able to bring to us musically as a whole, with that harder edged opening that then sort of descends and is able to open up a little bit more, allowing for that mid-tempo to slow if necessary, or to accelerate and become more frantic. This is the longest track on the album to start us off at nearly 8 minutes in length, 7 minutes and 47 seconds, and does establish that Tom's voice is still very much active and very emotive indeed. And as a result of that, this feels like a very strong start. And going into Weightless, that trend does continue. Something that you're going to notice about this disc, as opposed to perhaps some of the past few, is that these compositions are taking on a little bit of a lengthier proposal, especially on the front half of this album. The songs are breaching the 6 and 7 minute mark, and of course a Silent Arc, the longest cut on the album, nearly reaches 8. As opposed to some of the past discs that have hovered more so around the 4 to 6 minute mark, this is a little bit longer, which gives them the opportunity to give a little bit more with each composition. And as a result, the guitar work and the overall backing is pretty solid. There are some times where it feels like some of the ideas do sort of lull a little bit, and perhaps are trying to use a bit of repetition in order to hammer points home, and it can stall Kinesis a little bit, but at the same time, I do like what that does, considering it does leave you sort of in a state to process what it is that you just listened to. And if you were impacted by it at all, you have the opportunity to sort of settle down a little bit and take it all in. And a great example of that is All I Have, the third track off this disc, which is just an absolute beautiful song. This one is wonderful, and I think what makes it so impactful is the fact that it is rather simple in its composition, especially from a lyrical standpoint, and it's not one that needs to go in various crazy directions in order to really make its point known. It's instead one that takes a more simple approach and does harbor in a lot of repetition in order to aid. However, the overall composition of those parts is just so well done and kind of strikes the right chords that you feel each transition. The guitar solo on this is absolutely fantastic and suits the mood beautifully. Overall, just a really great track. I would say the standout of the album, and maybe one of the best tracks that we've had thus far here in 2019. Going deeper into A Secret Atlantis and, et al., for the remainder of this disc, you've already gotten essentially what happens to be the true identity of what The Atlantic is going to be all about. This is what this album is going to be. We're not going to be stopping at all for one of those slower tracks that tries to really ramp us into a differential or almost a depressive state, or maybe a sad state. So this is dark progressive metal, so it does want to maintain itself a little bit more than just, kind of going up and down the register of emotion. And it's able to still provide you with an emotional response with its overall construction. The building blocks that surround it are all very well tailored. It reminds me of some of those Evergrey albums that we got in the 2000s, where it felt like they were starting to move a little bit away from what they initially had brought to the table, but were instead expanding their repertoire and giving it a little bit more of a bag of tricks to play with. I look to a track such as End of Silence as a good example of that, and even the closing track, The Ocean, is not too bad. The one thing about The Ocean that does kind of dissuade me a little bit from rewarding this band fully is the fact that it doesn't feel like a true closer, almost as though something should be after it. It doesn't leave a lasting impact, and that's one of the things that Evergrey has been a bit hit and miss with over the course of, I would say, the past decade, is that they've been a bit hit and miss whenever it comes to critical moments of albums or really writing the complete album. I take, again, a good look at my first Evergrey album, which was The Discovery, and feel that that was just one that from beginning to end just sort of struck all of the right chords and was able to be a nice, concise bubble of a disc that got its point across and still left you kind of in a very reflective state. You wanted to start it back up the minute that it ended. I don't quite have that same feeling and interaction with The Atlantic, although you, as the viewer, may disagree. And if you do, I would like to know in the comments below. Please tell me. As far as an overall experience is concerned, The Atlantic is certainly one that does touch on emotional chords, and does so, I think, with a little bit more of impact than some of the prior albums have been able to accomplish. I don't know if it's done in the exact same way. In fact, I can guarantee you that it's not. This one does feel like it has a little bit more of a direction to it, and as a result, it does have a lot of great attributes. It would be a 24 out of 30. That's what I'm going to give it. I think it's a great disc that progressive fans will enjoy, and you can officially start your 2019 calendar off with a bang with an album that is certainly doing all it can in order to show that Evergrey is still one of the best bands out there within the dark progressive genre, if you even want to dub that a genre. They are just a great progressive metal band, and certainly do they're worth checking out. I don't know what I was trying to say there. Apparently I do need to rediscover my brain. I'll tell you what you guys can discover, though, while I'm over here discovering English, my brain, and what it's like to be a reviewer again. There's merch. This actually looks pretty darn sweet. I'm kind of surprised. I figured it would look like crap. There's a link down in the description box below where you can head over to the official CKN Merch Center in order to get a shirt like this for yourself. Join the CKN Club today and be hashtag really, really sweet, because we don't want to get sued or, cease and desisted and all that other stuff, and yeah. They're really, really cool. We have a sticker, we have shirts, we have more stuff coming. There's going to be ball caps in the future, and if you have any sort of merchandise request, let me know, and I will see what I can do for you. Tell me what you thought about The Atlantic by Evergrey. I am genuinely curious. Post a comment in the comments below, and I'm CoverKillernation. I'll talk to you guys next time. Take care.